Welcome, everyone, to this first martial arts podcast between Maitreya and myself. Maitreya is a longtime friend. I would say past life generals that we and commander strategizing and planning and battling we have done together. And in this current life, Maitreya has multiple black belts across quite a few different arts. Karate, you might help me out with a
Jiu-jitsu.
okay.
Yeah, Filipino martial arts. There's actually two different styles there, and I don't know if we want to enumerate them, but also Taekwondo and Tai Chi.
Oh
So
my
that's
gosh, that's a five. Wait, how many?
six.
Six.
Yeah,
And you're so young. Wow, you have shared lots of wisdom.
started very early
Yes,
as
you
a
did.
little bean. As a
Yes,
little bean.
a little bean, right? And my background in martial arts has been mostly in one art of Aikido, Japanese form martial art, and kind of just tap rooted myself into it, as you will. Just went deep, still going.
Yeah,
Love.
Aikido is one of those where it's like it's this like it has such a longevity and it's such a
Mm,
depth that it takes time
yeah.
for that mastery, you know?
Yes.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those great ones to just tap into.
Thank you. So, and just sharing with Maitreya a little bit off, the podcast, but also want to saying it here is the intention behind doing this martial art topic specifically is rooted in us females being of a female gender, being able to share our learning insights and growth, maybe some tips, advice that could be potentially helpful for other people either starting on the martial arts path, maybe are currently on it and feel like, oh, I'm open to hearing what two females have to say about martial arts. Being in an art that I have seen in my dojo, majorly gendered male, and coming across those differences, right? And whatever that can be a size difference, that could be a um, what is it, strength difference. Um, and really wanting to utilize this platform to give space for us to have um, voice to all the subtleties and the very overt, themes that we have come across um, to be a benefit to other people. Yeah. Did you have more to share on that, Maitreya? Like any other intentional things?
Oh wow. Um well, first of all, thank you. I feel really honored to be
Mm,
on a podcast with such beautiful intention.
mm,
Um yeah, it's really an awareness thing, kind of raising the awareness of
mm,
for other females to understand what this path is like, and that actually it's very powerful. It's very
yeah,
useful
yeah.
in many areas of life, um, for life in general, but like for work, for relationships, for it's like a medium for understanding yourself,
Mm,
and also how to kind of expand in these skill sets um, of standing in the world, owning your power, um, as yourself, you know.
which makes me
Hmm.
want to lead into the first question, if I may ask.
Hmm. Yeah.
What would be, I don't know if sales pitch is the right word. What would be the sales pitch you would put out there for other women, females listening to them, like if they're interested in martial arts, they haven't started, they've seen it, maybe seen it in movies and like, oh, cool, maybe see a female heroine doing a cool martial art. You're like, oh, that looks pretty badass. What would be your, yeah, incentivizing of women who are interested in the art, but maybe haven't started yet?
Wow. That's there's so many angles for that.
I know.
I think that kind of an easy angle,
Mm.
it might even sound stereotypical, but an easy angle is fitness,
Okay, right. Yes, very good.
right?
Agree.
It's like, yeah, it's like health and fitness. It's like if you want, if you want like strength intensity, dynamic movement, you want to exercise your brain,
Mm,
you want to increase your spatial awareness,
mm.
all these things, like even just like for health and longevity, body
Good.
strength, bone density, it's like
Right.
start off with some martial arts and just kind of build, and then build, and it's a very robust longevity practice. And so that's one angle.
Very good. Very
Can
good.
endlessly go into that one. Um, and I would say the other one is really I would say protecting yourself and
Mm,
developing your power.
I'm with
So
you. Okay.
sometimes, I mean, it depends on like what someone's like environmental situation in their life is, you know. It's like there's actually like immediate security of like your surroundings, and maybe you take the train to work every day, maybe, and things like that. And you just want to feel less stressed, more at ease and confident about your own capability to
Mm.
defend yourself if you needed to defend a friend if you needed to. Can you defend your life? Can you protect yourself if you had to? And sometimes people like to think that that's something that you can kind of put off. You're not really in a dangerous situation, and sometimes it happens when you do get into a situation where you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I'm safe right now. Or
Right.
maybe it's even in a case where, somebody had an altercation, felt threatened, or God forbid anything happens.
Hmm.
But even before that, you kind of want to just explore like, oh, could I defend myself if I needed to? Would I know what to do in that situation? It's kind of like defensive driving, right? Like, yeah, just learn the skill set.
I totally agree with you. I think also there's this, maybe because it's the gender conditioning of the society we live in, safety is a really valuable component to have anchored in our bodies as a female. Safety, I feel like, really allows us to then root in a place where we can then flourish a little bit more in however that may look like. And by allowing us to tap into a greater depth and trust and capacity of our ability to be protective of ourselves and safe, is not to say we then more thoroughly, put ourselves in dangerous situations. Let's like also put the disclaimer out there, right?
Right,
It's
right.
not to,
Yeah, it's not the
it's not
yeah,
to
yeah.
put yourself in more danger. It's this concept of and capacity of safety that we further anchor in our system, in our being, really allows us to, I feel like, then start psychologically, mentally, and maybe emotionally work to be able to be a little bit more courageous and more fuller embodied as a way of talking about it, to express what maybe needs to be expressed at work that is something that's unfair and just, or something that needs to be an issue that needs to be addressed, but you're like, oh, I don't know if it's safe for me to address that, right? There's these components that can translate into how us being safe allows us to, it can make us reach greater, higher success as a way of talking, maybe greater levels of achievement and accomplishments we might want to do, if it's part of our goals in our life. And also safety, I feel like is really important where it really can create a womb effect in our relationships, a healthy womb effect, right?
Yeah,
Thoughts
yeah.
on that?
What
Yeah.
I feel like what you're speaking to
Mm.
is really, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Where it's like really you got to address the foundations at the bottom of the pyramid first, and security and safety, like primally, is one of those things.
Huge.
And once you have those needs met, then you can start thinking about a lot of the things above that, right? And
100%.
and
Yes.
this is one of those things where it's just such a beautiful medium to build upon, like just like that, where it's like first, feel safe and strong and confident. And then you can actually start to think and build other skill sets, and you can start to really get creative and thrive and experiment with that movement and that awareness. And then there's a lot of there's a lot of joy and empowerment that comes from it. Ultimately, I mean, it's not ultimate because there's more ultimate of the ultimates, um, but martial arts also really helps, at least for me personally,
Mhm.
um, in work or professional settings where you just experience the world differently because you've, let's say, been in the ring, because you've been in a kumite or a sparring match, or something where you've learned to handle yourself in confrontations.
Mhm.
Then even in more subtle circumstances, like in a social situation, like at work when you need to speak to someone, it's challenging, or you need to have a meeting where you've got some visibility.
Right.
Um, there's some of that where, very nicely, some of the things you learn in martial arts and dealing with intense energy translate
Yeah.
over to help you, be robust in those situations.
Very well said. And I also would add the word resilience. It would add in this greater resilience to address those things. Yeah. And I would
Yeah.
maybe ask, can you share an example? I know I'm just like going off the cuff of how safety, what from what you've gained from your martial arts practice and training has kind of maybe shown up in ways in your life, tangibly that you're like, oh yeah, this, happened from, martial arts training and on the theme of safety has shown up in this way. Any examples? I need to now think of an example for myself too.
Yeah, and what comes to mind is something very resilient based, like what you were talking about. It's a resilience, I think, and it is specifically from, um I'm drawing it from like a lot of my sparring experiences.
Mhm.
Sparring has been one of those high pressure, people, it's easy to get nervous. You don't know how your opponent's going to be, especially if you're whether it's an opponent that you've sparred regularly before, or not. I mean, you just don't know how they're going to show up
Oh
today,
yeah.
right? And
The
are they going to,
unknowns, man. The unknowns are so
yeah,
freaky.
yeah. And then it's like, and how like how your body is going to be working today, when
Mm,
you face them and things like that. So there's kind of there's that adrenaline, that
mm,
natural fight or flight, and it's like, you go through the match, and if you go through multiple matches too, it's like you address that stress, like of starting it, and then you learn to be in the moment, to confront that and to rely on your techniques and things like that. And then the next sparring match, and then it's a whole other universe. You don't know how
yeah.
that person's going to be in that, that kind of chemistry. But going through that experience, when, let's say, there was a hard day at work, right? It's like, oh, there's a lot of meetings, it's been crazy, and this argument happened, that thing
Mhm.
happened, this person got stressed out, now we got hit with this other deadline, there's a
Oh,
showstopper issue,
mhm.
things like that.
Yeah.
Then I can kind of say, like, all right, I've been boxed around a little bit. I'm like, okay, just roll with the punches, and like, let's do what we can. And you know,
Mm.
and I feel like there is that kind of flexibility and resilience of like, okay, you could box me around a little bit, I'm okay. and
Wow.
and I can deal with the difficulty, and I can bounce back and say, here's the solution to that, here's the solution to this, and really that comes from like, here's the solution to that, here's the like, here's the, and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
It's,
makes me
yeah.
think of kind of the, sometimes maybe cliche, warrior mantra of like never give up, right? Or even as maybe athlete, but specifically in the martial arts world, it's like you never give up. And that resilience of that mantra stems from staying present with what is happening in the moment and utilizing what resources you have in that moment. Because I 100% agree with you. For mine, the belt tests are the stress test pieces with many, many unknowns because you prep for it like it's an open book test with techniques that, the sensei wants to see. But inevitably, the sensei is going to be there and they're going to kind of see, oh, maybe I want to see that technique again with a different sparring partner because you did that too smoothly. Can you get through it with this person and XYZ? So they will absolutely change up the variables on you. And that's the point. They want to stress test you. But going back to the mantra of like never give up, this recognition and resilience around, okay, even though this is stressing my system out of fight and flight, how do I tap into the training time that I have been built into my foundation to address it in the present moment, right? And not give up on yourself, I think is one big thing. Not to just like, "Oh, okay, because that's
Yeah.
a, a no-no in my dojo. I mean, that's like that basic in itself, I would say is a hardcore concept in my dojo of like to be able to see you not give up, not willing to give up, you've already demonstrated a win as a way of talking about it in our dojo, right? But your attitude and what you bring to that moment, even you're totally stressed out and you're like against the odds, but your attitude presents like I've given up. Sensei deems that as a fail, right? Just because of the way you are showing up, right? And I feel like that for sure shows up in my then regular life, whether it's work, relationships, or personal life. It's like, how are we showing up where we're so stressed from a day of all this stuff? Can we still be bright, happy, and be like a little bit more chill and relax and roll with the punches kind of thing? Be like, okay, cool. Everything's working out. I don't know the answers to everything, but I'm not giving up.
Mm.
I'm not going to lay on the floor, let everyone walk on me. And not throw myself too crazy of a pity party.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
yeah, it's what you're speaking to is really that the etiquette
Oh.
of it's an attitude and it's an etiquette of like being a good sport and
Mm.
actually yeah, it's like finding yourself worthy of fighting for, like
Oh, yeah.
continuing for, in a way.
Mm.
And that is something that is a natural skill set that you develop in martial arts. Like you have to develop eventually the right attitude to keep coming, to have tenacity, right?
Hmm.
There's a humility and a
Right.
tenacity that is like the recipe for really building like any powerful skill set. And
When you're saying
yeah.
that, it just totally touched my heart. What was the word phrase exactly? Like you're building that tenacity, but I also hear this subtle thing. You're building this deep self-love for yourself because you're not going to give up on yourself, like you said, right? And that love, like, oh, any woman could benefit from that, that deepened self-love that might go into, self-confidence, self-esteem, so like all good stuff to how we are then allowing ourselves to deserve to be treated better, in our relationship, work life, whatever, it's like, I'm going to go for the promotion. Why? I'm good enough kind of a thing, or I'm going to try. I'm not going to give up and just be stomped on because that's just what life dole out to me. So I love that. I love that warrior spirit, especially when I see it in women. And not only that, I feel like it also deepens this incredible compassion and kindness, not only for ourselves, but for others, humanity in general. It's very beautiful, very beautiful.
Yeah. I feel like what you're really speaking to is heart, is
Mm,
having heart. And because you could have a lot of other motivations for wanting to do martial arts. And at
yeah,
a certain point it's gonna try you until you especially it depends on, I think, obviously like your dojo and what is the martial art. But if
yeah.
there's anything worth, if there's any dojo, worth going to, it's one that's gonna really continue to push the envelope and help you grow. And eventually you're going to reach this place where you're like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't have the ability to do this thing yet. And it's easy to just like, you'll fall on your face here and there. Like
Hmm.
you'll get hit.
Hmm.
Or you might not know how to do this complex technique
Yep.
yet. Um, and you really need to have that heart where you're just like, okay, if I was being tested, I failed today, but I'm going to keep working on it until I don't fail anymore. And it's like, and then until I can do it, and I can do it strong, and then I can do it static, and then I can do it dynamic, and then I can do it like in my sleep,
Mm.
right? And that's and it and it's there's something about that where it takes heart and spirit to keep going. And did you realize that it's really the heart and the spirit that starts to shape and carve your body, and you'll just go past your limits if you're that humble and you just keep going.
You know what I hear when you say that piece is I hear the refinement process that happens, from martial arts practice that I have seen and experienced in my life. Because the timeline, if you will, of martial arts practice is for me, I've seen it based on longevity, right? It's not this, I'm going to go in, do a year of it, like sign a year gym membership, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to be, whatever it is, reach my health goals of whatever it is. Martial arts and the dojo structure I have experienced is set up for how do you show up consistently with that heart, right? And the consistency builds this innate refinement process of ego, sloughing, totally have the most awful day. And you're like, what? And potentially being a senior student, the most senior student in that class, having the most awful day. And you're like leaving, like, I don't fucking know anything. Like, I just the first day white belt. Very humbling, right? And also just as humbling and heart-filled and joyous when we might not be the most senior student on the mat that day, but we get huge breakthroughs of awareness, body movement, timing of ma, like space with you and the sparring partner or the other attacker. That you leave, you're like, yes, yes. And like I've left those days from my dojo feeling like I've conquered the world because what is it about? I feel like there's absolutely that infusion of power, right? That is so very high adrenaline rush kind of a thing. But also there's this wow awareness as a way of talking about. You're like, I amazed myself as a way of talking about it. I'm like, oh my God, I did that. Wow. And it's just really beautiful. How would you explain that? Do you know what I'm speaking to?
Like
Speaking?
these breakthrough moments,
Yeah.
and yeah, because gosh, I think I was just talking with somebody about this yesterday. And it's about how if you kind of you kind of can, if you make a decision to like do one hard thing
Mm-hmm.
a day,
Mm-hmm.
like you're actually growing and expanding.
Mm-hmm.
And martial arts training, like any session, like whether you do it, once or multiple times per week, there's always something else. There's like something you're working on where you're growing and you're pushing that envelope. And when you make that breakthrough, it's it's exciting, or it's even paradigm shifting.
Uh-huh.
And then you kind of get yourself to this place where, yeah, I'm going to talk about it biologically too, because there's like
Okay.
endorphins that get released, and right,
Oh,
and it's like,
totally.
and then you start to um, train and condition yourself to orient towards growth, and to see, kind of this positive feedback. This is how you get more and more empowered,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
a perfect word. It's definitely empowerment. And it feels like, as a metaphor to use, it's like you have all these rooms in this mansion, call it our being, right? And it's like you unlocked another door in your mansion, and it was like another room filled with treasure. You're like, oh my God. It's just like huge win,
Like, I didn't know it was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like very empowering, I think.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
very mystical.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So now trying to circle back to kind of give people who are potentially interested in martial arts, right? That incentive that we talked about. I guess now it asks, what would be some very beginner basics for someone that is entering into the dojo, very, very new, that would really help them, support them in their practice or training, whatever art that they may be in. Anything that you would share for very Yeah, basic stuff. Any,
Basic stuff.
yeah.
What I would say is, this goes back to the core of caring about yourself and
Hmm.
having compassion about yourself, is that, I mean, well, not everybody's perfect in the very beginning
Oh
with
yeah.
technique,
Right,
right?
right.
And very often what it is you're actually just building a foundation to to be able to do certain techniques,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So it's like footwork, stances, and some strength intensity and getting used to training your muscles to even standing that way and and handling any kind of pressure of the maneuvering, right? So in a way, what I would say is like it's normal to be wobbly. It's
and
normal to,
and be confused when they're like move your left foot and you move your right foot and you're like all
yeah, you're like,
discombobulated.
yeah. And actually, and celebrate those moments, because it's like when you're not quite getting it right, that's okay. You're actually really training your brain to
Yeah.
move that way. And there's no shortcutting that.
Nope.
And there's also no shame in it too. Like you might be like, oh, my neighbor is so much better at it than me. And I'm like, yeah, maybe your neighbor has the movement down. Maybe your neighbor's been doing it like longer than you, or maybe
Mhm.
your neighbor's been doing it shorter than you, but you don't know that they've had like 6 years of dance, like right,
Right. Oh, right, right,
right.
right,
So I'm like, but in any case, that's them, and you're you, and your
right.
brain needs to be trained to make that movement. And there's no shortcut for that. And it is amazing every step of the way, like making that path, like creating that pathway
Mm.
in your body. So
Hmm.
I would just say like it's like celebrate that.
Celebrate that and really, really letting go of any kind of self-judgment, right? Around,
Yeah, self-judgment, or like or like this comparative kind of
oh,
like, oh,
competitive, comparative,
competitive, like there's an element of that that's healthy, but like there's also a great element of it that is unhealthy,
for
and
sure.
and that you could really benefit from doing away with.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. When you're talking about that non-self-judgment and also the ability to just be there to really enjoy the journey, it makes me think of the willingness to learn, right? Because I find that that is one of the a basic, I would say, a core principle that is so valuable of an asset showing up on the mat is being willing to learn. And I feel like when I've seen myself being willing to learn something new or just learn in general, I'm open-minded about something. I'm open-hearted about receiving what it is, whether I need a criticism, feedback, correction, whatever it is, or, oh, you did great on that. I was like, oh gosh, I do know which one is my right foot or something like that. Then willingness is a real component that also brings forth humility, just the perfect amount of humility, not the humility that is too overt where you're like cursing at yourself out loud on the mat and people are like, "Dude, it's okay. Like everyone's been a white belt on a first day, whether they've had dance or not in their background, past history." Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
yeah.
that's something I absolutely do admire when I do see beginners come into the dojo is their willingness to learn is so wide open that they don't care how dumb they look, in their mind. They're like, oh my gosh, I probably look really weird right now. My body's all twisted up, because these are new body movements or placements of body that they're not familiar with, right? So they kind of, you could say, as way of talking about, look, feel dumb, but they're just all about it, and I'm just like, oh, mad respect, dude, that you just be willing, and you're like, I might look stupid, but I'm like here to fucking learn, and I'm like, yeah, that's so
I love
inspiring
that
for me.
spirit. Yeah,
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 yeah, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah.
yeah.
What have you seen also maybe as a tip or advice with really new beginners entering into the dojo that you seem like, oh, this is really a component that I've seen be successful for students that want to continue train, specifically even females who come into the, that want to train on the mat long term.
Hmm. Specifically for females.
Oh, well, or in general,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
can tie something to females too. Yeah, yeah.
So
I know.
there's a lot of things there.
Yes, I
I'm
know.
thinking like
I
what
know.
is I think very, very accessible.
Mm.
Well, so I've for myself, like I've had a background of doing a lot of different types of martial arts
Mm.
where most of the classes were all male.
Oof. Yep.
Most, right?
Yep. Yep.
And it can be
Hold,
discouraging.
hold that thought. Oh, I was going to say, do you walk into the dojo? You're like, all right, bitches, I'm home. What's all the dudes or no?
Well, I mean, I don't exactly say that, but I walk in there just like anybody else, like,
Okay,
and
but you were saying
yeah,
discouraging. Go ahead.
yeah.
I
It can't,
interrupted.
like when you're first starting, it can feel discouraging. Now, this is not everybody, but I would say for a lot of people, especially a lot of women,
Yeah.
especially a lot of women,
Mm.
it can feel off-putting and difficult
Yep.
in
Yep.
classes where, especially if you're learning techniques and a lot of your opponents and your classmates are male, they might be harsh. They may be, hopefully they wouldn't be, but maybe they might be harsh. And then usually they have greater muscle mass,
Yep.
right? So there's a strength. There
Mhm.
can be very often, especially in the beginning, a huge strength mismatch.
Deficit. Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
And with
deficit
some, yeah.
at first,
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
in those things. And
hmm.
so there's a very real physicality aspect
Mm.
of of that muscle mass difference.
Yeah.
And so to some degree, you would have to work on that kind of strength intensity to be able to handle that, and also to learn ways of maneuvering and handling a much larger, more muscular person.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say is
Hmm.
that I mean, it's not easy and it's not pleasant, but it's very important to learning how to protect yourself, because most people out there are going to be these, like larger muscle massed people, right? So, so I would say, yeah, just understand that what is going to help you is consistency of practice and working with that difference.
Yep.
And there's like a lot of ways to grow and understand with that difference, how to handle that difference and then close gaps.
And I would totally agree and add to that is absolutely don't be discouraged, because what I have found and experienced is when I've continuously shown up to learn what is being taught in the basics. Being a female, I also have this like side internal personal learning and growth of how to utilize my female structure, strength, whatever it is, as an asset. And it's a huge, beautiful process. I mean, I don't know exactly if I can speak to one, two specific tangible things. I can just say that I've absolutely experienced in my own body, like, oh, okay, these are how the quote unquote guys are doing it. Okay, I'm going to learn to the best of my ability physically how to do it like the guys. And then as I train and practice more, I find that maybe my body, does its own adjustments that further enhances my personal strengths as a female, body structure, whatever. And I'm like, ooh, I really like that. And those are really cool insights and experiences I love having in the dojo that I don't really get to verbally share, to other dojo mates, because I'm not going to go up to the guy like, I figured out how to do that technique better in my female body. They're like, huh? But it's real. It's real. It happens.
Yes. Well, yeah. And on top of that too, is that there's also ways to leverage the bone structure of your body and to actually relax more and rely on that structure of the
Mhm.
body. Um, that, in a strange way, I think that like I don't want to generalize and say all males, but I'll say like a lot of males, because they have that, that strength,
Yeah.
they might like overcompensate with muscle force, right? And especially in certain types of martial arts. But then when you start to get into something that's a little more flowy, that is a little more circular, that involves locks and grappling
Mm.
and things like this, there's actually ways you can just make some micro adjustments, like an extra step, getting yourself into what is the powerful stance for you. You just leverage yourself properly and you use a lot less energy, and you gracefully maneuver into something, and you can handle yourself much more easily.
I am gonna thank you for saying that because I'm gonna add in maybe some mystical components, to you know try and tangify this this concept.
Tangification.
Tangification is not to generalize as well with genders, but male body structures with muscle mass, sometimes it's just kind of like Hulk smash. That's all I know how to do. I just Hulk smash, Hulk smash. It's like, I have a hammer. What do you need fixed? Okay, you
Sorry,
need
guys, but
the
yeah.
plumbing. I got my hammer. Your tire, the car. I got my hammer. It's like this one tool does it all kind of thing. No offense, guys. We love you. Which on the mystical side, I feel like it references navel chakra, right? Where it's masculine based, it's outward emanating like a force, right? Of power, navel fire associated with power. Whereas females, the assets of us and discovering the asset is the fluidity piece that you're talking about, which I feel like resides in the sacral chakra, right? The second chakra. And that feminine aspect of water as the element reference to that chakra allows us to go to be a little more creative, not only just adjusting the stance too, right? But energetically, like there's so many creative outlets that we might explore and experience that the male gender person is like, but I have my hammer. You're like, but what about the saw? What about this screwdriver? You throw in a couple different tools, and the guys are like, I have my hammer. They're overwhelmed, right? And I say that is a huge asset that we have a gain in as females, to be able to be fluid and creative and potentially discover and utilize more different tools than maybe what a male gendered person might use or go to on the martial arts mat. What would you say to that, Maitreya?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, because I feel that women have had to
Mm,
explore other ways,
mm,
and there are other ways,
mm.
and then the art and the beauty of that aspect you know, um, is discovering the many other ways. And really, it is. It's like
It is. It is.
the saying is on one hand this, but on the other hand, the five fingers, right? And right, and there are in fact the five fingers on the other side, and um, I was just trying to think of a great example about it. I remember
Uh-huh.
working on Wu Wei Do. Wu Wei Do is like one of the other, what we call it, one of the other shadow martial arts that I've done.
Mm.
Because we didn't really develop, it was a system where we didn't really develop a black belt in
Right,
it
right, right,
exactly,
right.
but I was working on it for like the better part of 5 years
Mm-hmm.
or so with
Mm-hmm.
Yana Sensei, who
Yep.
you and I both
Yeah.
had known.
Yes, yes, yes.
And actually, a lot of the movements
Oh.
that he incorporated were so, I would call them feminine and fluid, and utilized relaxation and body structure. It was and he called it a yin martial art.
Oh, nice.
And even the way he moved when he was doing it was very feminine looking, very funny, but it worked. A lot
Yeah.
of things, and it even shows in some ways. it shows like where you can save energy in relaxation. And it's based, primarily on like a combination of Chinese martial arts. I think it's like Ilishuan, Tai Chi, also actually Aikido
Thank you.
was is a big part of it as well,
Yeah.
and Sistema, which is like a special
Mhm.
forces martial
Yes.
art, but even Sistema is so about flow and relaxation. Really, it's interesting. It's like this: the
Oh.
body is like jello,
Oh.
and how it moves. And so, yeah.
No,
Anyway,
thank you for saying that and bringing up Yana Sensei with Wu Wei Do because no intention at all to make this, conversation about male bashing people, male bashing on martial arts, because I want to really highlight the beauty is I absolutely have seen males, guys embody a more maybe feminine yin practice into whatever the art they're training. And my gosh, when I have trained with these men, it is so beautiful. And beautiful in the sense, I think, and I feel like I have deep respect for them and I'm in awe and I deeply honor them because I feel like for the way society conditions males, I feel like that they can demonstrate something different with their yin, more feminine practice, more fluidity is a huge transformative piece, refinement piece, and like a spiritual awakening as a way of talking about for a male gendered person on the martial arts path world as I've experienced it. It's just so beautiful. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are an enlightened man who knows how to be feminine in your body, be masculine.
yeah, and actually now that we're talking about this, I think it's so I think there's these aspects of yin and yang martial arts, and when it comes to, I think, someone, and this is just a recommendation from me based on my experience, and that is that when someone's starting out, especially as a woman doing martial arts, I
Mm,
recommend women do yang martial arts,
mm,
because exactly kind of the same the other way around is that
mm,
actually you need um to gain power and to understand how to navigate a very intense world. That's what I
mm,
would call it, a very intense world, to defend yourself. The yang martial arts, more hard martial arts,
mhm,
where you have to hold structures and stances and build strength intensity and have these explosive movements, that is something that's going to protect you.
mhm,
And
mhm. Yes, yes.
at the outset,
Mhm,
but and as you gain that foundation,
mhm,
then working on the things which may be more natural to you, these
mhm.
fluid circular motions, I think it's really great to work on that refinement. But I would recommend for a woman at
Mm,
first to work
mhm.
on these yang martial arts. And with longevity, I feel like the yin martial arts is, and working
Yeah.
on those refinements is so good,
So
essential.
good. Yes,
But
yes.
yeah,
No, I agree with your seeing on that. Yang style is very important because it helps to, from what I've seen and experienced, break through and break down the conditioning that we have had our whole lives with being in a female gendered body. I remember my sensei, he sent his daughter, maybe she was a high schooler, to a self-defense like martial arts weekend. It wasn't like a full martial art thing, but it was a self-defense class specifically geared towards women to teach them self-defense on based on the foundation of martial techniques, right? And one of the basic things that they really worked with the women on was how to project voice and volume during dangerous situations against a potential threat, i.e., attacker or whatever. And it was funny because the sensei said that he didn't go to the retreat with their daughter. They sent them and they came back. So they didn't really know what they learned or how they did, right? They're like, oh, okay, how'd it go? Like, okay, great, high schooler, right? And so one time they went into the kitchen and like, can you maybe show me something you learned? And the daughter turned around like, okay, right? Like a high schooler, they're like ready for anything at any time. And so he started to pose like a threat, like approaching her. And he said he was like shook and also like feet froze to the ground because the way his daughter tapped into that yang energy of volume and projection and confidence of like, get the fuck away, do not get any closer, blah, blah, like whatever she needed to say, and just fully embodied it without any hesitation. He was like, whoa, okay, I'm good. I'm good. I don't need to do it. Like, I'm not going to cause you any trouble. You clearly, got some, energy emanating from you. And so, side little anecdotal story around there is value in us training, practicing yang energy stuff when it's not necessarily our natural go-to sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. The conditioning and the energy of the
Mm,
ki, that's so
mm,
it's super, super powerful. Um, that is one of the very first martial art that I did was called Kaji Kembo, and I was 6 years old. And
you're
Kaji
like this
Kembo
big.
is yeah, it's like pretty tiny. But my so the thing about it is that it's a very street fighting martial arts. I think it's like a mix of I think it's like karate, judo, kenpo, boxing,
Oh,
Um, and so it's very yang. The stances are very strong. There's like the horse stance and everything. And
uh-huh.
but you ki, and it's like, and you ki like very powerfully from the dantian,
Yes.
right? And it's like, and I remember also going to these tournaments where you would see these young children do these techniques, and like they would be in like a horse stance, very wide horse stance, and then they would do like a side thrust, and then
Oh,
like a side thrust like to the head even,
uh-huh.
and it like even like just upwards, you're like, I don't even know like when I would use that, but when they would just be like like just echoing throughout the entire gym, and it's powerful,
Wow.
and it's like, yeah, if somebody was like trying to attack you and you put on that energy, like
Mm.
for real, that is intimidating,
Hell yeah.
or at
Oh,
least slightly distracting.
for sure, for
You know,
sure. Like enough
yeah,
even for you to like kind of, run, right? Because running is a legit safety component of a technique if you need to run.
yes, yeah,
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 yeah.
absolutely. It's like
But
one of the first things to do, but
yes, yes,
yeah,
yes. So my sensei's, anecdotal story after that's like, well, I guess I paid my money's worth for her to go to that defense
yes,
class.
sir. You're like, yes, I have money well spent. Thank you.
Yeah,
I bet.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But just being mindful of our time, I just, asked, was there any last thoughts, comments, things you wanted to share to wrap up for today?
Oh gosh. Well, I'll just say that this is really just, I think, a beginning
Mm,
in some of these martial arts conversations. To anybody who's watching, based on
yes.
what we've talked about, you can see that it's quite a vast topic,
Oh my
and
gosh.
we can, deep dive into some of these areas, which I'm excited to do as we go along.
Me too.
Yeah, I'd invite any woman who hasn't tried martial arts, or maybe put it on pause, to try it out again, because there's always a lot to discover.
Yes. No, thank you. And thank you for taking the time today to just kind of share your insights, your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience. And I would also encourage any of those people watching, girl or guy, or they or them, anyone, if you have questions that you have, feel free to put them in the comments. Maitreya and I will do our best to answer it, well, based on what we know. And if we don't know, we'll do our best to point you in the direction of where you can go to look for more, to know what you want to know. Really wanting this space to be a collaborative space and safe for anybody to ask whatever questions they want to ask that maybe they feel like they can't or maybe don't have a resource to do so. And then we can ponder it upon ourselves and go, what would I say to that? Maitreya, what would you say to that? And just allow this to be yeah, a very collaborative platform that is supportive of people who have that willingness in the heart to seek martial arts. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Until next time.
Until next time.